Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jem Pollitt Hill, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence. Thank you so much for being here with us today for our 37th annual memorial service. Each year, we gather as a community to remember those taken from us by intimate partner violence, to support one another in our grief, and to recommit to creating a future where no life is lost to domestic violence. In times of tragedy, it's easy to feel isolated in our sorrow. But today, we come together across different backgrounds, experiences, and communities to share this space of remembrance and resilience. No one should have to carry this grief alone. But before we begin, I want to share a brief logistics to ensure that everyone can fully participate. We are providing both ASL and Spanish interpretation. To access your preferred language, please select the globe icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're using a phone, you may need to tap More or the three dots to find this option. Detailed instructions are also available in the chat. This service is being recorded and will be available on our website. We are also live streaming on Facebook, although Facebook attendees will not have access to interpretation. This is a webinar style event, which means you won't be on camera or able to unmute, but we encourage engagement in the chat. Our staff is here to monitor and provide support. If you experience any technical difficulties, please reach out to Meredith Barsani via private Zoom chat or email at mversani@mnadv.org. You'll see that email in the chat. She's also listed as tech support. So for 37 years, we have gathered to remember those taken by intimate partner violence. And this year, for the first time, we are not only reflecting on the lives lost in the past year, but also highlighting 5 years of homicide data from 2019 through 2023, along with preliminary data from 2024. In that time, 237 lives were taken in Maryland. These are not just numbers. They are beloved family members, dear friends, and valued community members whose absence is felt every day. We are grateful to the local domestic violence service providers, county state's attorney's offices, local law enforcement, and community members who help to ensure that each of these lives is remembered. While we recognize an overall decline in intimate partner violence-related deaths, we also know that one death is too many. As we gather in remembrance, we also reaffirm our commitment to prevention, intervention, and lasting change. Following today's service, we invite you to join our Healing Circle, a space for those who would like to grieve and process together. This will be a private gathering that's not recorded or live streamed, where family members, survivors, and community members can share in a more intimate setting. If you're interested in joining, we will provide instructions a little later on in the service. As we now move into this memorial, please remember to take care of yourselves. These moments can be heavy, and we encourage you to breathe, step away if needed, and lean on those around you for support. Now we will begin by sharing 5 years of intimate partner homicide data in Maryland. Let's take this time to reflect, to honor, and to stand together. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon. I'm Fiona Oliphant, and I serve as the president of the board of directors for the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence. Today, we gather virtually to honor the lives tragically lost to intimate partner violence in Maryland. This memorial service is a solemn reminder of the lives impacted by violence and a call to action for a safer future. Over the past 5 years, at least 237 lives have been lost to domestic violence in Maryland. These are not just numbers. They're parents, siblings, friends, and neighbors. Nationwide, an estimated 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience some form of IPV in their lifetime. And for too many, that violence escalates to homicide. The trend reveals a stark reality. From 29 deaths in 2019 to a peak of 58 in 2021. While the numbers began to decline to 38 by 2023, the pain of each loss remains immeasurable. These fluctuations remind us that the progress requires relentless effort. No community is untouched. Intimate partner violence affects every part of Maryland, from cities to rural areas. These tragedies leave lasting impacts on families and communities alike. Each life lost is a profound reminder of the urgent need for continued prevention efforts and support for survivors' lives. Among these 237 lives, 138 were intimate partner victims. Tragically, 40 were bystanders, including 11 children who found themselves caught in the crossfire. Studies show that up to 60% of domestic violence homicides occur in the presence of children, leaving behind trauma that lasts a lifetime. 3/4 of these deaths were caused by firearms. National research indicates that the presence of a firearm in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. This underscores the critical need for legislation and preventive measures to address gun violence within domestic violence situations. Lethality factors help us understand the conditions that increase the risk of fatal violence. Among the cases where these factors were known, 68% of victims had already left the relationship or were in the process of leaving, a particularly dangerous time. 18% involved perpetrators with a documented history of domestic violence. Other contributing factors included stalking, non-fatal strangulation, pregnancy, and suicidality. These insights provide critical opportunities for intervention and prevention. Murder-suicides represent a deeply troubling aspect of IPV homicides. Of the 237 deaths over the past 5 years, 35 involved abusive partners who died by suicide. Alarmingly, 97% of these perpetrators used a firearm. This pattern mirrors national statistics, where murder-suicides account for roughly 1/3 of all domestic violence homicides. The perpetrators of these crimes also reveal significant trends. Of the 194 abusive partners identified, 171 were male. Their ages ranged widely, but the majority fell between 26 and 45 years old. Research shows that early intervention with these young men and boys can significantly reduce the likelihood of future perpetration of IPV. By fostering healthy relationships, promoting nonviolent conflict resolution, and challenging harmful gender norms, we can work together to create a culture where violence is no longer tolerated. The racial disparities are stark. Black individuals, who make up about 30% of Maryland's population, account for nearly half of all IPV-related deaths in Maryland these last 5 years. Black women in particular made up 51% of the current or former intimate partner violence partners who were murdered. Studies show that Black women are 3 times more likely than white women to be killed by intimate partner violence. Yet they often face systemic barriers to accessing support and protection. These disparities demand that we address the root causes of violence and the structural inequalities that perpetuate it. As we reflect on these sobering realities, we must also recognize the ripple effects of intimate partner violence. These tragedies leave lasting emotional, psychological, and economic impacts on families and communities. Survivors, loved ones, and entire communities carry the weight of these losses, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive prevention efforts, survivor-centered resources, and policy changes that prioritize safety and justice. Our work does not end with remembering those we have lost. It must continue through action, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to ending intimate partner violence. Every life lost is a call to do more. Let us use this moment to reaffirm our dedication to creating safer communities and ensuring that survivors have the support they need to heal and rebuild.
We will now take a moment to reflect on the lives lost to intimate partner violence in Maryland in 2024. Preliminary data reveals approximately 41 verified homicides. Among these, 22 were intimate partners, 11 were bystanders, 6 were perpetrators, and 2 involved unknown dynamics. Heartbreakingly, 6 of the 11 bystanders killed were children. 45% of the intimate partners who lost their lives were Black women. Over 1/3 of these tragedies involved an intimate partner who was in the process of leaving or had already left the relationship. Additionally, 11% of these cases involved factors such as jealousy, stalking, or suicidality. Intimate partner violence remains a gendered phenomenon, with 95% of these murders in 2024 carried out by men, most often using firearms. As we continue this service, we honor the lives lost to intimate partner violence. While also recognizing the countless cases that may never be formally categorized as IPV related. Let this be a reminder that our work to prevent intimate partner violence and protect the vulnerable is far from over. Together, we can create a future where all Marylanders live free from violence. Alasia Janelle Milburn. Alizi Fatima. Amy Armstrong. Asia Lilly. Braden Zansky Quinn. Brianna Wormley. Crimea Melita Baker. Danya Carolina Cruz Mejia. Daniel Mapes. Dimitrum Scarborough. Eunice Chung. Haley Zansky Quinn. Jacoby Marcel. James Page. Jasmine Mardra Reed. Judy Elizabeth Gee. Crystal Prahanpap. Lee Tu. Malin Turks. Mary Catherine Bland, Miriam Glowacki, Nancy Ann Houston, Natasha Renee Harris, Katrina Best, Sean Antoine Lang, Shakia Allen, Sharon Moore, Saida Alia Nair, Saida Fatima, Takia Monia Nails, Tanisha Butler, Giovanna Britt, Gwendolyn McCoy, Yesenia Jaramillo Sosa, Zaria Plummer, Anisha Isaacs, Ambria Farmer, Andrea Rodriguez Avila, Good evening, everyone. I invite everyone to just take a deep breath if you are able. My name is Whitney Adele, and I am the Prevention Coordinator at the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence. And I want to share just a little bit about how we get here each year. Throughout the year, I track as many domestic violence-related homicides as possible, verifying each case by consulting experts in their respective jurisdictions, such as state's attorney's offices and law enforcement. At the end of the year, I conduct a final review and verification with our members. It's a long and incredibly exhausting process, but it's necessary, right? Currently, we are the only organization that tracks all IPV-related homicides in Maryland annually and shares that data with you all shortly after verification. This work is incredibly critical, not only to honor those who were taken too soon, but to recognize patterns, raise awareness, and push for change that could prevent future tragedies. We are also the only organization that holds a statewide memorial service dedicated specifically to honoring those lost to IPV. Reading each of these stories is heartbreaking, especially knowing that so many of these lives could have been saved. But by tracking these losses, we shed light on the devastating impact of intimate partner violence and reaffirm our commitment to ending it. As we come to the close of tonight's service, I want to take a moment to thank each of you for being here. Whether you are a survivor, a family member, an advocate, or a community member, your presence is a testament to our shared strength and unwavering commitment to ending intimate partner violence. Tonight, we have honored those that we lost to intimate partner violence, but we must also recognize those whose stories remain unseen, unheard, or unaccounted. First, the missing and murdered women of color, whose names are too often left out of the headlines, whose cases do not receive the same urgency, and whose families are left searching for justice. We hold space for them. and we refuse to let them be forgotten. According to the National Crime Information Center, in 2022, over 271,000 girls and women were reported missing, and over 97,000, more than 36%, were Black, despite Black women and girls comprising only 14% of the US female population at the time. Second, those who survived attempted murders, who carry the weight of their experiences every day. Survival is not just about making it out. It's about healing, rebuilding, and finding safety in a world that may not have protected them before. And lastly, the hidden victims of intimate partner violence, whose deaths may not be classified as homicides, but are direct results of abuse. Those who took their own lives after years of violence. Those whose deaths were disguised as accidents. And those whose suffering was erased by silence. Their stories matter, their lives matter. And prevention is more than just numbers. It's about changing the conditions that allow violence to persist. It's about challenging systems that fail survivors, supporting communities most impacted, and ensuring that every person has access to safety, dignity, and justice. This work is heavy, and it can feel incredibly overwhelming. But you are not alone. If you look around this room and this Zoom call, this community is here. We are in this together. And I want you all to ask yourselves this: what role can I play in preventing violence? How can I use my voice, my skills, my platform, or my resources to create a real change? And if you're unsure where to start, I have some things that you can begin. You can sign up for MNADV's newsletter to stay up to date on what MNADV and our member programs, including local domestic violence service providers, are working on. You can attend a training, whether through MNADV or your local DVSP. You can learn about the dynamics of IPV, response and prevention efforts. And in fact, we have a teen dating violence training on Tuesday, February 18th, if you're interested. Follow and support the Black and Missing Foundation. This is a national nonprofit organization based right here in Maryland, and it tracks and amplifies cases of missing Black people. Lives that are often don't receive the attention they deserve, as I mentioned earlier. At MNADV, we provide first responders with tools to respond to intimate partner violence effectively, including the use of the lethality assessment program created by MNADV that assesses lethality factors that are linked to IPV homicides. We monitor and support abuser intervention programs in an effort to decrease reoffending. We coordinate the statewide domestic violence fatality review state implementation team and provide technical assistance to the local domestic violence fatality review teams in the hopes that we can prevent future tragedies. We also train hundreds of professionals every year to make sure everyone understands their responsibility in responding to and preventing IPV, and that they have the tools to do it. So if you're looking to get involved in any of these efforts, please reach out. And if you're already involved, we thank you. I want to thank the interpreters for their service today. I want to thank the people whom I verify each and every homicide with. Thank you for your expertise. I thank family members and friends who showed up today. It's an honor to be able to remember your loved ones. And thank you all again for being here tonight. Let us move forward with purpose, with action, and with an unwavering commitment to honoring and protecting every single life. We are now closing the event, but we welcome you to stay for our healing circle. Interpreters will not be available during the circle, and we will now end our live stream on Facebook as well. The healing circle is a space that we co-create together. It can be whatever we need it to be. So if you do not wish to speak, but simply attend and listen, that is okay too. If you wish to attend the healing circle, you can stay online, and we will begin shortly. Our theme for this circle is community. Helen Keller once said, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." So how are you finding and building community? Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and have a good night.